Now, just weeks after creating a bit of a furore over his visit to the Al-Aqsa mosque compound in Jerusalem, Israel's far-right and national security minister Ben-Gvir has reportedly vowed to continue visiting the holy site. And this comes a day after Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly had promised Jordan's King Abdullah during his visit to Amman that he, as the Prime Minister, would ensure that the status quo of the Al-Aqsa mosque is maintained. Now, according to reports, Israel's National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir had said that he manages his own policy concerning the Temple Mount and not that of the Jordanian government. Now, Ben-Gvir reportedly said that he was not yet certain about his next visit to the holy site. But what is interesting is that this is what Ben-Gvir says. He says that Netanyahu has not tried to stop him from going up to the Temple Mount. Now, earlier this month, Ben-Gvir paid a visit to the Temple Mount, leading to some pretty furious condemnation from the Arab world. Now, during the hours-long meeting with the Jordanian king, Netanyahu assured him that the state of Israel will protect the authority of the Islamic Waqf, which is a Jordanian-appointed council that administers the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Jordanian monarch, who has had years of tense ties with Netanyahu during his past tenure as the premier, was quoted as telling the Israeli Prime Minister that an end to violence is crucial to allow for the long-stalled peace talks to resume. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site in Islam. It's also the place that the Jews refer to as the Temple Mount, which for the Jews is the holiest of all places. Now, under an arrangement that has prevailed for decades under Jordan's custodianship, Jews and other non-Muslims are permitted to visit the Temple Mount, that is the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, during certain hours of the day, but they're not allowed to pray there. In recent years, the Jewish religious nationalists and extremists, including members of the now governing coalition, have increasingly tried to make their way into the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound and have demanded for prayer rights for Jews there, which has, of course, infuriated the Palestinians and the Muslims around the world. All right, now to give us more insights in terms of what's exactly happening in the state of Israel, we're being joined in by our correspondent, Jody Cohen, who is joining us live from Ra'anana. Now, Jody, this is an interesting bit of what is being said. Now, on the one hand, we've heard comments that were made, assurances that were given by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu when he met with the Jordanian king, who said that he'd, of course, respect the rights of the Waqf, which controls the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. But here we have the Israeli Interior Minister who said that Prime Minister Netanyahu has told him not to go into the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. What are we to make of these divergent statements?
Right, Mohammed. Hi. So at the meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Jordan's King Abdullah, Netanyahu, as you said, reportedly promised to continue upholding the status quo at the Al-Aqsa Temple Mount complex. Now, following the visit, the ultra-nationalist Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, he vowed to keep going up to the Temple Mount, which, as you said, is a holy site to Islam and the holiest site in Judaism. Now, Ben-Gvir's comments aren't likely to come as a surprise, and I would go so far as to say that it's likely that Prime Minister Netanyahu and King Abdullah probably discussed this scenario in their meeting on Tuesday. Now, Israel says that Ben-Gvir's recent visit didn't break the status quo that ministers have visited in the past, and that people of all religions are allowed to visit during set times with police presence, with no praying and so on, and that Ben-Gvir followed these rules. However, Ben-Gvir's visit 3 weeks ago, as we know, led to condemnation across the Arab world and an emergency meeting at the UN as well, and many countries urged for calm. It remains to be seen what agreements Netanyahu and Abdullah would have come to in that meeting to maintain the calm if, or perhaps we should say when, Ben-Gvir visits again.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, the question, of course, that follows is this. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is, of course, leading what has been described as the most far-right coalition government in Israel. But given what we've seen of what Ben-Gvir has said in the past and also what he has said that he intends to do, is it going to be difficult for Netanyahu to be heading this coalition?
Look, Taking this situation specifically, in principle, I believe that Netanyahu would say that every person has a right to visit the complex if they stick to the rules. And in practice, he would certainly have an easier time if Ben-Gvir didn't visit. The priorities for Netanyahu right now are Iran's nuclear program. Remember, we've got these massive joint US-Israel drills going on at the moment.
Right.
Foreign relations are very important to him. The fact that he chose his first visit abroad to be to King Abdullah shows just how important this issue is and how important those relations with Jordan are. He also wants to build the regional alliances. He said he wants to expand the Abraham Accords and that the coalition partners have agreed not to stand in his way on this. Also, we've got the ongoing situation with the Palestinians. That Israel's preparing for the day after President Abbas. They want to make sure that Hamas doesn't take over the West Bank. They're conducting search and arrest raids. Most recently, we're hearing about 4 people dead this morning in a raid in Jenin, reportedly also involving a battle potentially in a hospital as well. So there's a lot going on domestically. We've got the judicial reform plan, widespread protests across Israel. So a lot going on internally and externally. Perhaps Netanyahu might ask Ben-Gvir not to visit because of all these other issues going on. Also, the need to maintain calm before Ramadan in March, when we saw riots on the compound last year. It's certainly an emotive issue and one which Netanyahu and Jordan would like to keep under control.
All right, very interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Jodie Cohen, for joining us and getting us all those insights there.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.